see. I get it. Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj Journal Show. I'm here. It is the evening edition. Baby. How y'all is? Come on in. The water is fine. I'm here taking notes and seeing if I can get people caught up on the history of today. Today is an amazing day in history. Today is another day that, well, I'm not going to say it lives in infamy, but it is a day for sure that we will always remember. You can tell your grandchildren that you were alive when the third president of the United States was impeached. So I want to catch up some of you who have a lot of questions and not understanding what's going on. Some of you were hitting my inbox and saying, hey, so he's impeached now, so we're done with him. So is it going to be in the hands of Pence, Mike Pence? No. No. For those of you who may not understand the process of impeachment, I'm going to need you to grab a history book or go on Google right now. You don't need books anymore. You just go on Google and go ahead and type that in. For those of you who were not paying attention in grammar school as it pertains to impeachment process, all right? Impeachment doesn't mean a president leaves the office. And I think some of you probably need to study just a little bit of the Constitution, just a little bit of it. Okay, the laws of the land and the process and hearings. And if you ever got in trouble with the law, you may understand what hearings are all about. It's good to see you, Tina and Kevin, and Tobias and Virginia and Victoria and Ron Kelly and Dana King, a whole bunch of y'all right here now. So a little history here. There were 3 presidents who have been impeached, but that it doesn't mean that it the talk of impeachment happened on many occasions by against many presidents. Many of you probably didn't know that. Matter of fact, let me go to here. Numerous federal officials in the United States have been threatened with impeachment. Many of them, and the removal from office. We only heard about the 2. Well, we heard about 3 men, and then Donald Trump. But see, 1 quit before that even got there. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Despite numerous impeachment investigations and votes to impeach a number of presidents by who? The House of Representatives. The reason why this happened the way it happened today, good to see you, Pastor Sharon Ruff, is because the way you voted. Thank you, Bishop Butts. Civics, study civics. Love civics. Love political science. Oh, something that I've always studied since the 1970s. I paid attention to even when Richard Nixon was in office. And after he left office, I started paying attention to his vice president. All right? Not sure what happened to my iPad. Ford, who gave a full pardon to Richard Nixon. And I was still a young boy then, but I was paying close attention to the history that was happening. And then Jimmy Carter, his election after that was amazing to us. A southern peanut farmer and what have you. A smiley man, okay? And then, of course, Ronald Reagan, and then Bush Sr. and Clinton, and goes on and on. So if you know a little bit about history, you should know this, all right? Pay attention to civics. Pay attention to the history of your land. The reason why this happened today is because you voted last November. Who did you vote for? It was time for Congress to run again. It was time for the representatives and the senators. Yeah, those who represent your state. It was time for them to run again, and you went out there in droves and you voted to get them in just so they can have a tipping power to do what they just did today. Do you not understand that? If you had not voted in November the way you did, this would not have happened today. You understand what I'm saying? Geneva says, have you ever run for public office? I don't, no, don't put that on me, all right? So it tipped toward the Democrats, it tipped to their side in the House of Representatives, not in the Senate, all right? It's really about the Senate. You understand what I'm saying? So the House of Representatives had the power and the prestige and the honor to write up these what's called articles of impeachment, and there were 2. Good to see you, Marlon. Blessings to you, all right? Now, because the Senate have the tipping point, have the power of the Republicans, have the power in the Senate, well, what's going to happen? I'll tell you that in a minute. So these people here, despite numerous impeachment investigations and votes to impeach, a number of presidents by the House of Representatives. Only 3 presidents in U.S. history have been impeached by the House. Again, impeachment don't mean movement, meaning get out the office, you're fired. That's not what it means. All right. President Andrew Johnson, number 1. Bill Clinton, number 2. And Donald Trump. All right. So some people say, what about Tricky Dicky? Okay. What about Richard Nixon? No. He got the heck up out of there before any of this happened. Neither Andrew Johnson nor Bill Clinton were convicted in the Senate. All right. The conviction happens in the Senate because that's where the court is. The court is not in the House of Representatives. All they can do is have hearings and take votes. That's all they can do. But there's no trial there. The trial happens in the Senate, and then the judge got to come from upstairs. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So they were convicted in the Senate and were not removed from office. All right. They were not. All right, so Donald Trump became that unfortunate. That will be the stain on his presidency forever now. And history will tell its tale. And whenever you hear his name now, it will be behind the phrase, the impeached president. Just like Bill Clinton. Whenever we hear about Bill Clinton, you hear impeachment a lot. All right? Let me see where y'all are here. Y'all are typing stuff. All right, the Senate will fully exonerate him, yes, and the taxpayers will get billed. That's it, Richard Nash, for the Democratic efforts. Trump will run for office and win because he is an advocate for Israel. This could be correct, Richard. You're reaching, but this could be correct, and will occupy until the Lord comes back. Well, all right, enough of that. Okay. Thanks for defining impeachment does not mean that Trump is going anywhere. That's right, Virginia. Yes. All right. So, okay. Why aren't this coming up on my iPad? I'm seeing stuff. This is why government is such an important class. And yes, Pitts, it's so important. Amber says Nixon didn't want to go through the process, all the proceedings, so he resigned. Yeah, he got up out of there. I love how ignorantly smart so many are about the impeachment process. Triplett is saying the House was the grand jury hearing testimony and saying a trial is necessary. Yes, it's a small screen, y'all. I'm squinting. The Senate is the actual trial for sentence. Yes, even though it will be as much of a joke. Yeah, that's good. That's it. There won't even be any witnesses there. I don't think y'all realize what's going on here. All right, apparently by y'all's comments, you do. Yeah, it's going to be a huge joke. And what's happening? Who hurts in this process? Who hurts in this process? The American people hurt in this whole process. Why? Because nobody's looking at bills. Nobody's writing up bills. Nobody's passing bills. We've been spending the past year talking about impeachment. No work is being done in Congress. Nobody's working. And silently and quietly, President Trump is putting in judges. I don't think y'all get this. No, y'all not. No. Turn on MSNBC, turn on CNN, turn on Fox. All right? Around the clock, it's all about Donald Trump and what the Democrats are trying to do to him to remove him from office. Meanwhile, a strategy is happening in the White House, and these things are happening, and you don't even realize it's happening. Nancy's going to hold his impeachment in the House. Yeah. I'm trying to tell y'all. Y'all don't understand. Here are the presidents who were talk of impeachment. Here are the presidents. Can we bring back Schoolhouse Rock? Come on. Yes. John Tyler, James Buchanan. Yes, these men here, there was talk of them being impeached. Ulysses S. Grant, Grover Cleveland, Herbert Hoover. God knows he should have got out of there. Harry S. Truman, the racist. Did I say that? Ronald Reagan. George H.W. Bush. George W. Bush. Barack Obama. They tried to impeach him as well. And a few vice presidents and some cabinet secretaries, some Federal Reserve boards, all right, and quite a few other people. That's right. So somebody else says, really, Barack Obama? Absolutely. Barack Obama, in March 2012, where is that? Representative Walter B. Jones. And sometimes people, they type my name on Google and they see Walter B. Jones and they're like, wow, Walt, what you doing? Yeah. What? He can't be elected again? Let's celebrate that for just a minute. Who can't be elected again? Michelle Case? What do you mean, who can't be elected again? Because you're not understanding how democracy works. Yes, he can. America is now even more a laughingstock to the world. Yes, this superpower can't get it together. Amen. Beatrice. Pitts number Triple says he's also killed food stamps for over 700,000 people. And people are asking for Pence, not realizing he is more dangerous than 45. That's true. And they don't realize it. If this attack towards those who on food stamps was towards African Americans, I think somebody didn't punch the numbers and realize that there are more whites on public aid than blacks are. So they really kind of biting the hand that they're feeding. I don't think they're realizing this. So Barack Obama, Walter B. Jones introduced H-Con Resolution 107, calling for Congress to hold the sentiment that certain actions of President Barack Obama be considered as impeachable offenses, including the CIA's drone program. Y'all remember that? You don't remember that? Yeah. In Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and the resolution, it died. Where? Not in the Senate. It doesn't get to the Senate. It's got to get to the House of Representatives first. And that's where it died. Before it got to the House of Representatives, it goes to the Judicial Committee. Okay, I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm old. Okay, the House Judicial Committee looks at it first. So that's why y'all were seeing these hearings last week and the week before last. It was just the Judicial Committee looking at it, talking about it, bringing in witnesses so that they could decide whether to proceed in the process of the impeachment, so that they could decide whether to take it to trial. You see, it's steps, all right? And I think the Constitution is brilliantly written this way so that one branch don't have more power over the other. It is checks and balances. Somebody say with that to me. Say that with me. With me. Mm-hmm. Checks and balances. So go ahead and put that in the comments. Checks and balances, all right? One branch is not more powerful than the other. No, they are balanced out, and one branch checks the other. You understand? So one is not supreme and superior and sovereign over the other two. No. And this is why presidents get in trouble, because the executive branch seems like they always are the ones who seem that they have carte blanche over the other two branches, and they just say whatever, do whatever they want to. And he thinks that executive privilege means I can do and say whatever I want to. Donald Trump thinks that. He thinks that. He says this several times, that he can do whatever he want to do. And that was the same spirit that Richard Nixon had. He says if the president says it, then it's not a crime. If the president do it, it's not a crime. So they are co-equal. Come on, y'all. We the people first, then the president. But in order to form a more perfect union, all right, you understand? Y'all get it? Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Y'all get that? Y'all know the whole saying. Provide for the common defense. And y'all continue it, all right? So on December 2013, the House Judiciary Committee held a hearing on whether or not to impeach the president, Barack Obama. At the hearing, there were views among Republicans that the president had not done his duty and that he abused his executive power. So, what the Republicans are blaming the Democrats of doing against this president, the Republicans had been doing that for the 8 years Barack Obama was president. When Barack Obama swore on the Bible at his inauguration address, It was the chief, the guy with the, yeah. His words were, our job in Congress is to make sure that this president don't succeed. Our job, our only job, pretty much, is to get this man out of office. But when you look at the hearings today, notice every Republican that got up in the hallowed halls of the Congress said, y'all hate the president. And since the day he was elected, y'all was talking about impeachment. So it's really, they're doing the same thing to each other. Same thing. What would happen if you found out that the leader you put your mouth on is a vessel being used by God? Trump is standing with Israel more than ever, and God has promises for those who fight for his people. Richard L. Nash. Okay, let me help you, Richard Nash, on this. And I want to be as polite and decent as possible to respond to what you're saying here. All right? President came in Article 4. Yes, sir. I want to address Richard Nash and his whole Israel debacle. Okay. Durain says impeachment just a slang. Yeah. Republicans still run the Senate. Yeah. It's just a slang. That's all it is. June 2014. Are you allowed to impeach a president for gross incompetence? Ooh, Triple is talking about 45. December 18, 2019, he got his answer. Yes, you can be impeached. Yes, Tracy, good to see you. Okay, let me address Nash, Richard L. Nash, Sr., a man who I respect and I honor his position and his heart. But let me tell you, Nash, and I want you to be very, very careful on how you stand behind someone who blows whistles, but who seems to be in our camp. Now, be careful, because if you don't study Bible history, then what's happening in this administration is that we're repeating it. God selected someone who David called anointed. Who was that? That was King Saul. God said that I set this up as a theocracy, which means God rule. You understand? And so the people decided that they wanted kings, set up kings. See, God set up judges, understand? And the judges pleaded for the people or made sure order was taken care of in Israel, and God was their head. You understand? The people saw that other nations had kings, and they said, God, we don't want you as our king. We want a man, a physical flesh and blood who we can touch and honor and praise. All right. So God says you don't need him, because here's what he's going to do to you. And they said, we don't care. And so what did God do? God's permissive will gave the children of Israel Saul. You understand what I'm saying? You still with me, Nash? All right. And what did Saul do? Saul did everything that God told the people that he would do. Meanwhile, God had selected David. God had anointed him David, even though Saul was still on the throne. Are you still with me? Understand? So, you are correct to say that God selects a person, but not for the reason what you think. God can select someone in your life to torture you, to chastise you, to punish you, to get you correct. You see, the children of Israel kept getting sold into bondage, pushed into slavery, pushed into exile. Who was doing that? God did that. All right? God selected that. You understand what I'm saying? You still with me? Because I'm going to finish this, Nash. I'm going to get to Israel in a minute. I don't stand with him. I am just stating facts on how God will suffer a foolish ruler to captivate a people who turn from him to worship idols. All right, Richard. Now we right here. We're right here. I can't argue with that argument right there, because I think you're right there what I am. It's just that when you mention Israel, you tipped a little bit away from what you just said here. Be very careful. But so let me turn the organ on. All right. Be very careful. Because King Saul was God's anointed because David kept calling him that, and David had every right to kill Saul for what he was doing. But David says, I can't kill God's anointed. Even though Saul kept trying to kill David, David kept escaping. All right. And even to the point to where it was time for Saul to die, and he told his armor bearer to kill me, thrust the sword in me, and he wouldn't do it, so he did it himself. And then anyway, the message got to David. The messenger thought that David would be excited that this man who's been trying to kill you, he dead, and I killed him. All right. And David said, how dare you kill who? God's anointed. David respected him. All right. God did put him there. So to follow up on today, yes, God indeed could have placed Donald Trump in office to do exactly what you just said. But let me address this whole thing with the whole Israel thing. Let me tell you about Israel. That some of us, I think we over-romanticize scriptures a lot of times. And a lot of times what we're doing is we don't understand the people, the culture, the time, dispensationalism, and we're reading somebody else's mail. We don't understand that a lot of times the directives was not necessarily given to us, but it was given to them. Also, just because the Israelites or Jerusalem does something don't mean we've got to approve of what they do or what they say. If they go to war with someone and they are not right to go to war against someone, then they should be rebuked. The problem with the Pentecostal church is you allow Israel to get away with everything because they are Israel. As a matter of fact, I don't know who them white folks over there. Okay, those are Zionists anyway. Those are mountain people. I don't know who those people are over there. Who they are occupying the land of Israel, but I don't know who those people are. And they're annexing. They cut off Africa. And if you look at the old map, you see that it's all together. But you look at the new map, you see that it's them cut off. What is this Middle East? We don't know what the Middle East is. Who named the Middle East? You understand what I'm saying? So just because it says Israel don't mean a hill of beans. Yes. When we bless Israel, God's going to bless us. When we curse Israel, God's going to curse us. But who is Israel? Who are those people over there? And don't allow them to just get away with stuff just because you see something in Scripture that tells us to support them. What are we supporting? Who are we supporting? And so Donald Trump is only supporting what the white evangelicals are telling him to support, and the white evangelicals don't even know who's over there. They don't know they are. So this, as a matter of fact, Israelites are some of the most bigoted people I know. You African Americans, you go over there to Israel right now. I ain't talking about where they take you to this little tour. I ain't talking about the tour guides where you protected in Israel. No, go into the towns, in the valleys, in the highways, in the common areas. And if you a black man, trust me, you think you see racism in the South or in the North, everywhere in America, or you gonna see some racism in Israel. They hate you. And God is not a God of hatred or bigotry or racism. So y'all keep supporting Israel, but Israel hate black people. Hate them. So I don't care what white evangelicals or Trump say about Israel. I make sure I watch them with a third eye. And God will support me. So if someone that God has placed over me do something that's not righteous, I have every right to rebuke him. I'm not going to just allow him to do whatever he wants to over me because God's permissive will was that he put President Trump in office. That don't mean he still can rape my children. It makes no sense. Oh, God put him up there. Let him rape your child because God's put him up there. That's God's anointed. Let him. Are you crazy? I still have every right as a righteous man to rebuke him. Just like the apostles rebuked each other when someone was doing something out of order. You understand what I'm saying? So Richard said you was there, all right? But if you were there, you should have known. They're racist. Google it. Go on YouTube and listen to a lot of the not African Americans, I call them African Americans, black people, all right? That diaspora, okay? Those people over there, a lot of them can't rest at night because they're wondering if somebody's gonna, attack them or do the stuff that used to happen during Jim Crow here in America. It's happening over there, and y'all don't even know that. So away with that banter and that talk and narrative about supporting Israel. We don't even know who Israel is. As a matter of fact, many in America believe that we're Israelites. We're the Israel. So you should be supporting yourselves. Yeah, come on. Tracy said, who was the true Israel? Those whom God has called to Christ. Last I checked, we were grafted into the family, into the body. So don't talk about the support of those people in that geographical territory. What about us who live right among us, who are grafted into the Israelites? So if I'm grafted into and I have all of the blessings of Abraham, then you should be respecting me. Why can't the white evangelicals and the president and the White House talk about us who are believers? All of us, not just white people, but all of us who are of the body of Christ. If we're grafted in, then you should be protecting us as well. So it makes no sense to talk about how great Donald Trump is because God selected him because he's protecting Israel. He ain't the only one. Look at all of the other presidents prior to him who protected Israel, who we give billions of dollars every year to enhance the military and the lives of the Israelites. All presidents prior to Donald Trump did that. All right. I will say, yes, Barack Obama kind of turned just slightly. And I will say that even, who is it? The peanut man. He sometimes talk about Palestinians and giving them more land and all these things. So yeah, you don't mess with that. Okay. But all presidents that I know since the inception of Jerusalem in 1949, it was midnight, all right? Since the inception of them, all presidents of the United States have supported Israel and given billions of dollars to them. All right, Jimmy Carter, thank you, Patrick. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. All right, so hello. Don't keep just giving credit to Donald Trump. That's the whistle. Now that's the Sirwalterj Jones I know. Yeah, all right, Nash. Sorry, brother. I got on a tipsy turvy here, and that's why I said earlier. I said I respect Richard Nash Sr. You know, he's a brother that I love and adore. All right. So where am I? All right. So let's go back to Andrew Johnson, 1868. 3 years after the Civil War, they wanted to impeach Andrew Johnson. Why? For some of the things Donald Trump is doing today. All right. He was denying Congress. This is Andrew Johnson was denying Congress, and he was going against the whole laws that was against the free slaves. You got to understand, after Civil War, it was good for a black man. We were getting black men in Congress at that time. We had a whole this whole black caucus that you see right now. That didn't start then. That started back after Reconstruction. All right, and the laws were put in place to protect freed slaves. And Andrew Johnson hated it, and he was trying to go against it and deny Congress. And they decided to impeach him, but he was acquitted in the Senate by how many votes? 1. That's it. He was acquitted by 1 vote. He escaped, but Andrew Johnson will still go down in history as being a man who's been impeached, president being impeached, and a racist. These same Democrats that voted for impeachment gave him over $22 million in defense. Therefore, the closed-door deals are still turning out of the view of the cameras. Yeah, come on, Triple C. Somebody else watched the news. Somebody else is watching it with me. All right, so that's Andrew Johnson. The next person, of course, was Richard Nixon. The whole Watergate thing, because he wanted to investigate. Richard Nixon and Donald Trump are blood brothers in crime and in sin. They're brothers. All right. Trump wanted some stuff on Biden's son, and Richard Nixon wanted some stuff on the Democrats. All right. This is they selected a special prosecutor because Nixon likes to record himself like y'all do today. And he had these tapes, and the American people wanted to hear the tapes. And so, what's his name? Archibald Cox was the special prosecutor, and Nixon found out that this is what he wanted, and Nixon fired him, and he fired the next person, and they call that the Saturday Night Massacre, all right? And after the Saturday Night Massacre, those who were for Richard Nixon, his Republican parties and cronies, okay, and cohorts were supporting him, all right, and then it was rank and file who says, this man can't escape this. There is a cancer growing in the presidency. Y'all remember that? So they wrote up 3 articles of impeachment. One, of course, was for abuse of power, which is normal, and then obstruction of justice. And he wound up resigning August 8th, 1974. That's how he got out of there before we got to this portion that we had today. And then Bill Clinton, a great president, both sides actually enjoyed him. I do want a side note on Richard Nixon is that it was a different Congress then. We see about partisan lines and bipartisan, and you hear that name a lot, but there was a different spirit, and that happened in the 1970s Congress that's different than what we see today. All right, the Congress is so divided right now that it is amazing to see that in a nation that 2 people who look alike are antithesis. They are enemies of each other only because of party affiliation. Only. They both are Americans. All right. So in essence, we are in a civil war. You just don't know it. You can't see it, or you're not paying attention to it. Wars are not going to be fight. I said this in another post in another show a couple of days last week. I don't know. But we look at World War I. We see it was obvious how it fought, how it started. This goes back to the Revolutionary War. All right, it goes back to every war that we fought, and then of course the Great War, World War I, and the greatest war, World War II. All right, but we look at the Civil War and the war against each other, and then the war against other nations is just fighting and pistols and tanks and airplanes and all that stuff. Well, today's war is kind of different. It's a war that you can't see, and you got to really pay close attention to the banter. The Cold War, the Cold Civil War. Yes, D.M. Matthews. Yes, that's a wonderful way of putting it. All right, and so when you turn on your television, it's war going on. It's a civil war. It's a civil war to the point where people are dying. Remember, the white supremacists came to be, and that man drove that car through all those people and killed that woman. Okay, and there's more anti-Semitic, there's more white supremacy attacks on American people today than the last time we've seen this kind of attack was almost back during Jim Crow time. There are more attacks on American people by racists now during the Trump administration than any other administration after Jim Crow. And look at the what's the agency that takes a look at the crime, hate crimes, what have you? What is that? American something league. Okay, is the civil liberties, something. All right, you look at their stats and look at the uptick, their graph on attacks, racial attacks and hate crimes since the time that Donald Trump raised his right hand. Oh, the graph went up. I thought it was high during Barack Obama for obvious reasons. Oh man, no, it's higher now. Okay, so now we having a civil war. Clinton in 1999 was impeached for perjury, that's lying under oath, and of course obstruction of justice. All right. But he fought like crazy, and he apologized to Congress and he apologized to the American people, something he should have done day one. All right, and he wound up leaving office when we was in a surplus, and still to this day, many people still love Clinton. Yes, they do. So there's a stain that is on the presidency today with Donald Trump. Now, why did an impeachment have to happen? Well, here's why. It would be inappropriate to allow a branch of government to continue to do deplorable things, say deplorable things, and do things that dishonors America, and not say something, do something to rebuke the president the man who sits in the high seat of the land and not the world. It would be a disjustice to allow your children to act a fool at school. He come home, he gets a whooping. Okay, well, those in power who abuses this power, it is of the people, by the people, for the people. And if the American people put you in office and then you decided that you want to do whatever you want to do, then what you're telling the American people is that you want to be king. You want to be king. And we don't honor kings in America. All right, there are no kings. As a matter of fact, that they wanted to find out what to call the first president of the United States, and they were going to call him king. And George Washington insisted, no, we come from that mess. All right, we come from England. We come from that. We ran from that, and now why would you want to go back to that? So no, I don't want to be king. So we have a president now who wants to be a sovereign king, and which causes him to say and do whatever he wants to. If Congress, if the House of Representatives did not act, if the Democratic Party had not acted on this, then what does it say about democracy? So impeachment had to happen. Now, I support the proceedings. I support the vote. I support the 2 articles. He's guilty of whatever they charged him with. He's guilty of it. Yes, he should have been impeached. Now, did the process take a long time? It did. I wish we had did it all this up over 24 hours just to send a message to the White House, to the executive branch, and to the American people that we're not going to allow any man or woman, to just act a fool. You know, act right, man, act right. That's what this impeachment is all about. It's like what Congress does in the chambers when someone is out of order. Then they censure this congressman, this representative. You can't just say whatever you want to. Remember when Barack Obama was giving an address, an inauguration address, and the white guy on the opposing side said, "You lie." Do y'all remember that? I think he had just got elected, and he was giving his address, and because they were so used to disorder among themselves, it had gotten so out of control, and nobody said, "Stop that, be cool," or we can't, because they allow these people to act a fool. He said, "You lie," and he got in trouble. Who did he get in trouble with? He got in trouble with Congress. He got in trouble because there is an order. There is an order of decorum in the halls of Congress. And when you disrespect the president in front of America during an inauguration, not inauguration, but the State of the Union address, when you do that, you should be chastised for that. And they censured him, or they rebuked him. That is, the Republicans rebuked him, and they said, "You owe Barack Obama or the president an apology," and he did apologize. So there's actual order in Congress. If you notice, if you were watching the proceedings, the votes today, it took 7 hours for them to get to what they needed to do. But if you notice, the one who had the gavel, the chairman or the chairwoman, and when she gave one of the congressmen their time to speak, and when they started to speak, they could not speak to other congressmen. They had to always address the chair. So if the chair says, "All right, I yield to, I recognize Sirwalterj of the great state of Illinois. Mr. Chairman, let me tell you, Mr. Schiff, I rebuke you." And then she, hey, no. You don't talk to Schiff. You don't talk to Rankin. You don't talk to Bojangles. You talk to the chair. You understand? All your grievances, you talk to the chair. You can talk in third persons and what have you, but you direct it to me. I can take it. That's proper decorum. That is the order. You understand? We have gotten out of order. We've gotten out, and I wish some of our churches could pay attention to the way at least Congress act in front of the public. But when the C-SPAN is turned off, then they act a fool. Political politically out of order. Defied political etiquette. Come on, and we got an etiquette specialist right here, Victoria DuBose. Yes, we elected the president with zero decorum because he don't know the rule of order, the rule of law. He don't know. What is it called? What is the order called? Who's it named after? Y'all help me out with that. I haven't done it in a long time. The eyes have it. What do you call it? Some of y'all will put it there. He don't even know how that works. Okay? He's never read the Constitution. He don't even know what the extent of his job is. Understand? So it is no coincidence that he acts the way he acts. All right. Let me close this down. Thank you. The parliamentary rule. Okay, or order. He doesn't understand. The man with wig, that is your president, has really been Williams. Thank you, Tamara. That's who I was looking. What I was looking for. Robert. Yes, Robert's rule of parliamentary order. And I grew up under the Robert's rule. I knew it. Being a deacon in the church, we use it in our churches, right? And so it's still being used today, and it is the best effective way of keeping order in a house that we have. Lonnie Newman said he voted for me as president, and he actually did. Now, you do kind of break a law when you take a picture of your ballot. So he showed me the ballot, and he actually voted for me. He did. Lonnie did. So he voted for me, and I set him free. All right? Okay. So he's now impeached, and he will go down in history as being the third one that this ever happened to. Did he deserve it? Absolutely, he did. What's the next process? Well, the next process is it goes to the court, which is the Senate, and the Republicans will just sit on it, and they won't call in any witnesses, because they did not allow the Democrats to utilize any of their witnesses during their hearing. They didn't allow it. So if you say that nothing happened, if you defend a man and you say that there was no quid pro quo, he didn't do anything wrong. He did not obstruct justice. He did not abuse his power. If that's the case, then the burden of proof is on you, and you should give up your witnesses and let them be on the stand and talk about it. But they said no. So what does that say? So unfortunately, for the Republicans, all they could do is bang on the table. Notice for the past couple of weeks, that's all they've been doing. They bang on the table. Notice the 7 hours. For 7 hours, that's all they've been doing is banging on the table and talk about conjecture, hearsay. They were changing subjects. They were using diversions. Okay, and they were talking about how much you hate the president. That's the biggest strength that they had. They had no other strength. And in many cases, that's how you win arguments. That's how you win cases and trials, is you got to make a lot of noise. And this is how a lot of preachers get y'all to do whatever they need to do, is make a lot of noise. That's why a lot of times in church services, I tell them, shut that down. You two, shut the music down. Quiet the music. All right. A lot of times we talk to God, and we keep talking to God, but we don't allow God to talk to us. Sometimes in our church services and in our worship services and whatever we're doing, we just praying, and we're yelling, we're screaming, we're speaking in tongues, we're playing our music loud, and we can't even hear God because we're not giving him a chance to speak back. Okay, we don't hear his voice because we're doing all the talking. And who wants to be in a relationship when only one person is giving and doing all the talking and the love, giving the love and all this stuff, and you not responding to me? I just don't want to be in a relationship like that when it's just one-sided. You understand what I'm saying? So that was happening in Congress today. So it will go to the Senate, and they will squash it as quick as they can, and he will go back into his seat and enjoy a few months. Now, does this bother Donald Trump? It bothers him. Grief. He's grieving greatly. It bothers him. Good to see you, Darius. I'm thinking about you today. It grieves him. Clinton, it didn't seem to grieve him, but it did. Publicly, it didn't. He showed face. He's a politician, all right, in the 90s, but it grieved him. If you talk to some of the pages and the workers and the interns and, ooh, did I say intern? Anyway, if you talk to a lot of the people in his cabinet, it grieved him. He was angry. All right, he seemed to be misguided. He was always writing, focus on notes and what have you. He was changing his attitude and what have you. And y'all remember the whole wag the tail situation? They made a whole movie on it. Wag the tail. He was going to war with people who he was going to our allies. He was like, let's bomb Britain. Let's bomb France. Yeah, let's bomb France because I had some French fries and it was burnt. Let's bomb France, all right? It was wagging the tail because it was a diversion, all right, towards this whole thing. But in public, he was like, hey, we got to continue with this office. I feel your pain. How did he do that? Yeah, it was like that. I feel your pain. Yeah, okay. So this is bothering Trump. How do we know? He wrote a 6-7 page letter. How many pages was it? To the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. 6-page letter. He was grieved. This is bothering him. So he was in a rally tonight while they were impeaching him. He went to a rally. Who does that? Can y'all put in the comments who does that? Who was getting ready to be impeached and go and host a rally? Who does that? Huh? Yeah. So they will acquit him, and they'll leave it back up to the American people to vote. And then, what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell Jr. has already stated that he is not impartial. Yes. And that Trump will not be removed. Yep. The Senate has coordinated the impeachment trial with the White House. Yep. And this has never been done in history. Nope. It's akin to a trial attorney collaborating with the judge on behalf of their indicted client. This will be a circus. Exactly. American taxpayers' money. I've been through that. All right? I got in trouble, and the judge was in cahoots with the others, so they already knew what they were going to do to me days before I got there. How did I know? Because my lawyer told me. He says, I overheard, and my lawyer friend overheard, that these people who you wronged and the judge, they were in the back there just laughing and planning and scheming over your life. He says, I want you to know that. So when you walk into that courthouse, it don't matter what you say, they've already made a ruling. I said, yeah, I figured that. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening here. This is a circus. This is a circus. All right? So he'll go back to being what he, and you give him a long enough time, he will obstruct justice again. He will abuse his power again. It's coming again because it's in him. The narcissistic disease that's in him will surface again, and more people will be indicted and go to jail. All right, and I feel sorry for the many who, if he selected you to be a part of his cabinet, run. Just say no, Mr. President, out of respect for your office, or I want to spend more time with my family. Don't do it. Because all these men and women who are palling up with Trump and lining up with him and allowing, accepting his call to duty, all these people, once he do leave office, all right, whether it's in November or whether it's 4 years after that, once he leaves office, all these men and women, and all you on here, my Republican friends, especially who fights and defends everything that this man says and does, there's going to be a stain in your history. People are going to look back at this history and say, how did that happen in America, and what were those people thinking? This is as close to the Jim Crow era that I can find than anything else. When I look at some of the whites who are really old now, 90s and 100 years old, okay, those who were back during Jim Crow, who was the cause of many black men and women being hung on trees and crosses being burned in their lawns and forcing them to drink out of different faucets and pulling them from the Woolworths soup tables and what have you, okay, the bars and what have you. Y'all remember that? And all right, the ones who were they were younger, but the Freedom Riders, they were pulling the Freedom Riders off of the trailway and the Greyhound bus stations and beating them and pulverizing them, right? These people you see on these films from the 1950s and 60s, they're now older now. And many of them are in hiding. And those pictures will be there forever. America know who they are. And when you see those old films, their friends and their associates and whomever, they know that's Billy Bob. Look at him. What's Billy Bob doing right now? He's a pastor. He's a pastor. He's a all right. And we elected a lot of those people in Congress. Look at many of the racist congressmen and senators. Many of them died, but Donald Trump went after Jeff Sessions. Is that his name? He was living. He was the last living, one of the worst, that at least that's alive right now. And they're looking at those old footages of them sicking dogs on little black boys and women, and they are ashamed, and they go into hiding. That's what's getting ready to happen with all of you who are supporting this administration. You're going to go into hiding. And you are going to have the same effect that Peter did when they approached him and says, "That's one of them Jesus boys. You was with him over there." "No, I wasn't." No, I wasn't. And the Bible says he started to cuss. "No, I wasn't, you mother." And he went to running. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. That's what some of my friends who keep talking about the glory of Donald Trump, a few years from now, they're going to be like, "I don't know what you're talking about." No, I wasn't one of them. And unless they delete or go back and try and find all of their posts, those posts will be up there. History has found them to be on the wrong side. Jim Crow Part 2, starring Donald Trump. All right? So let this be a warning to you. Save this video right now, because my friend's going to play this video back a few years from now and say, "Here's what Sirwalterj said about you." I feel sorry for you, or not. Some of you know what you're doing, and some of you don't know what you're doing. And these congressmen who are so bold to support a man who is the epitome of a transgressor, because the way of a transgressor is hard. He's the epitome of it. He's a lying wonder. These congressmen who are giving all they can to support this man, the day is going to come when the tables are going to turn on you, and you're going to wonder, why am I at home now collecting unemployment? Pride will break you every time, flat on your face. Yeah. And here's the thing, the news capture everything you say in Congress, and they keep playing it back. What is his name? What's the Southern man who called Donald Trump all kind of nasty stuff? He was a fool. He was a hack. Is it Lindsey? Lindsey said some of the worst things about Trump until he got elected, and then everything he says now is beautiful for breeze. There's two Lindseys in the house. There's two Lindseys. Yeah. And they're going to play these two Lindseys back to him and his children and his grandchildren. And it's going to be a stain in his family forever. So when you call out the name Lindsey, They're gonna coin a name for him. You don't want to be that. Lindsey Graham. You don't want to be that kind of person. And you're only doing this to keep your party in order, or to let the American people see that y'all got it all together and you're unified, so that you can continue to win votes. That right there is going to hurt you, because you're more pro your party than you are the American people. They elected you in office to represent them and to help them with the welfare of them. Not welfare like checks, but I mean their welfare. What are you doing? You don't realize that you're hurting your constituents. It may not seem like you're hurting them now, but the time is going to come. History is going to prove that you hurt your own people. You did. Let this be a warning to you. They've already started playing his double-minded talk. Yep, he looks bipolar. And they play the young Lindsey, and then they play the Lindsey right now. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. All right? Pride, yeah, come on. They recognize Peter and who he was with. yeah. So the cock is getting ready to crow thrice. So get ready. All right. Now, I think the Senate is going to go into their little proceedings, or their circus in January. They're going to give you all a break for Christmas. So Merry Christmas. And if January comes, and they'll start their process, and they'll just be sitting there eating. That's what they're going to be doing. So, how y'all doing? Mr. Nancy, Mrs. Nancy have the floor. Yeah, you're the floor to Mrs. Nancy. So, what y'all watched today? You saw that? I saw that too. It came on ABC. All right, the time is up. Time is up. I yield the floor to Senator Drew Hill. Drew Hill. Here's Drew. All right. So what's coming on tonight? What y'all doing tonight? I'm telling you, that's how the Senate hearing is going to be. All right? And they're going to be like, you know what? Have our time elapsed? Yes. All right, well, we good. Quit it. Let's get back to work. That's what's going to happen. And then y'all going to be like, well, wait, I thought his violations of our country's written articles should have been enough to stop Trump, but in his tracks. But the Republicans, in their quest for partisanship, led the country down. The actor says the Ritz Cracker Review. You're so clever. All right. So y'all got any questions? You got any legal questions? Let attorneys at law, Jones and Jones, help you out with whatever your problem is. All right, because don't get excited and don't go turning over cars and robbing liquor stores and stuff. You know how y'all are. Y'all tear up your own community because you're excited. No, you don't know how the Constitution works, apparently. Because somebody's out there running the streets. Boy, hung. He got impeached. We got him out of the office. Yay! And they're going to get home and be like, turn on TV. Wait, how is he still? Well, I done spent all my money. I done broke in this man's. Yeah, it's because y'all ignorant. Okay, let me go. Our next president, Sirwalterj of Chicago. Yeah. I don't know, but I wonder what bills are being passed while this is going on. Tracy West, that's what I said earlier in the show. There are no bills being passed, and if they are, they're against you. It's a sleight of hands here. Let me tell y'all something. If Donald Trump gets reelected, it's because of this. He has become a martyr, and people love martyrs. So you think they voted? Those people who live by Cracker Barrel, you think they voted? Or they're gonna be even more undignified than this. Yes. And what's happening with the Democratic Party? You got all these weak candidates, and the one who's at the top, he look like he gonna die tomorrow. Okay, pray that he don't. But y'all don't have nobody strong enough to go against the voters. And then, even if he do win, even if he do lose the popular vote, y'all do realize that there's still an electoral college. And if this is the same electoral college that was in 2016, guess who's going to be your next president of these United States? Take a wild guess. What's somebody saying here? Sooner we do the right thing. Yeah, Richard Hall, you got a lot of praying to do. yeah, you got a lot of praying. Why is Nancy holding the articles? Nancy is the Speaker of the House. Jermaine says it. I said the same thing. They love an underdog. Yes, they do. This is a marketing strategy, really. Yeah, Bernie. Yeah. It's clever. It's clever. It's gonna work on their behalf. Yeah, it's gonna work out for them. So, I suggest y'all rethink Canada. Y'all, we supposed to be going to Canada in 2016, but y'all didn't go. They will be celebrating like when the Chicago Bulls won all those championships, looting stores. Yeah. So, to rally the vote is good, but to not pay attention to the electoral college is a problem. These are representatives, and these are people that we have put in power. Some of them are your governors. And the likelihood of them changing their votes, it's small. Yeah, small. Some members of the college have changed their votes down through the years, but it was not enough to really make any fuss. So, yeah, he can. Some people say, after all he did, all of the horrible things he did in office, you mean to tell me you think he gonna win again? This is how democracy works. He can. So what are you doing about it? Why do we still have the Electoral College? James, well, that's $1 million question. The Electoral College is important because of proper representation. Without it, those small states like Maine and, it doesn't, the balance of power needs to be spread out properly among the United States. So the Electoral College fixed that. But over the past couple of decades, it has been a problem because representations do change, fluctuates, and then we get what we call gerrymandering and the redrawing of districts, congressional districts in the states. So when you got corrupt people that's trying to, what's happening with gerrymandering is the same that happened with maybe your parents when they were trying to vote, even though they had the right to vote by law, but they had these little weird laws in place, in the South, to stop you from voting, and you had to take a test in order to vote, and this was a cornflake box, and they said how many flakes is in the cornflake box. Okay. What they call those tests, those poll tests, whatever you call those tests, all right? No, you said it's 300. No, it's 299. Next, okay, couldn't vote. So today it's like the same thing. Remember when Bull Connor was trying to stop those black people from going in there to register to vote? You remember that? That's happening today with the redrawing of the districts, which confuses people on where do they go to vote. Happens in here in Chicago a lot. They keep changing the district. They keep redrawing it, and we don't know who this and that, and they put this one man over that district, and it's crazy. It's messed up. The whole system is jacked up. Sadly, it's going to take more than his bad behavior for him to lose. Yeah, that's been proven. Yeah, he's an escape artist. Donald Trump is an escape artist. He is Houdini. He is the greatest Houdini we've seen in politics. He keeps escaping. Now, let's go back to Nash. He could be escaping because it is God's permissive will that he does escape to continue to teach y'all a lesson. So we could be crying for naught. That God's will is being done until we get the lesson, and then God will release. When God puts an enemy over you, all right, over a nation, I'm not calling Trump an enemy, but I want to use it in the biblical point of view historically. When God puts an enemy to over Israel, whether they are taken away by Babylon, by Nebuchadnezzar, or whether there is an evil king, God uses those enemies to teach the Israelites a lesson. And then when he's done teaching them a lesson, then what does he do to the enemy? He removes the enemy. In many cases, he kills the enemy. You understand what I'm saying? Because the nation repented. If my people, which are called by my name, would humble themselves and pray and then turn. And once they did that, God removed the enemy from them. And he gave them a Solomon type administration where for 40 years there was peace. They didn't fight in wars. During the Solomon administration, it was peace. He shut the enemy down. He shut their mouths and put up the fence. Okay? But prior to that, the Philistines and the Amorites and Jebusites and all them ites was attacking Israel. God was trying to teach them a lesson. I pray we've learned our lesson this time. Lord, yes. It is trouble voting for President Obama, moving the voting pool. Yes, James. Yes, it was troubling. All right. So we're being punished. And some of you are not getting the lesson. So you're a nation, but God now deals with you individually. Because when God says, if my people, he was talking to a nation, the children of Israel, nation. But we who are part of the church, we're not a nation. God deals with us now individually. So the house now is us. That's why the house is not a building anymore. So God dealt with the house where all people were. When they were all in one accord in one place, he dealt with them collectively. Now he deals with us individually. You don't believe me? That's why y'all call it Christendom. There's no such thing as Christendom. All right, there is no kingdom like that's called Christendom. No, it's individualism. So now you believe in your heart, confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ died for your sins. You are saved. Now go and strengthen your brother. All right. So when God now chooses to punish someone, he don't punish the whole body. He take care of you individually. Because when you go to Christ, you go to him for yourself. You don't go to him because of a nation. When you stand before God on judgment, he's not going to ask you about the nation of Israel, about the nation of Christendom, about the nation of the United States. He's not going to ask you about that. He's going to ask you about yourself. He's not going to ask you about your mother, your father, or your children, or the house that you run and where you pay the mortgage. Nope. He's going to ask you about yourself. Understand? It's individualism. So if my people, well, he's talking about a whole bunch of folks. That's why when David took a census, it was unlawful for him to take a census. So did God kill David? No, God killed thousands of the Israelites. Because when God judged them, he's judged them all as one unit. So now when God judges us, he judges you only, individually. You. You understand what I'm saying? He judges you. I'm preaching for Bishop Donald Trump farewell celebration and preaching a message entitled "What to Do When the People Vote." Y'all see that meme? Y'all see that meme that people's putting up on Facebook now? Donald Trump singing, "I've had some good days. I've had some years of clap." All right, a rebellious nation will be dealt with. Yet with God's fury and correction, he reigns on the just as well as the unjust. Yes, and he does that individually. Absolutely. So y'all, stop bringing the Old Testament concepts into your world today. But this is another dispensation. This is the dispensation of grace. And God has grace upon you as an individual. He says, I will no more punish the children for the sins of the father. So, y'all keep calling it generational curse. I don't believe in it. There's no such thing anymore as a generational curse. For everything I just said. The generation didn't do that to me. I did that to myself. My sins are my sins, not the sins of my father. I'm doing these sins. I can't blame my father for my sins. No, because when I get stand before God, God is generational curses. My father laid with this woman over here and then had me, and then I'm a bastard child, and then blah, blah, blah. God going to say, really? You blaming your... He said, I can't blame your father. I told you in the scripture that I will not punish you for the sins of your father. So you can't blame your father. You did this. You sinned against your own flesh. Notice that. He said in the scripture, the sin is against your own flesh, not your father's flesh. Lord have mercy. Yeah, y'all getting any of this? Yeah. I hope you're getting it. Because I didn't get it until I got it. Now that I got it, I get it. I'm going to eat some late dinner and go to bed. Yeah. Do you think it was necessary to vote him out? Yes, Justin, I think you came late. The impeachment process was to say, I see you, and we will not allow you to run rampant in my house. You understand? This is my house, so I'm going to have to punish you for running rampant in my house. Okay? Now, your superiors are going to try to protect you, but I'm going to still beat you behind. The mother and the father. You see, the mother was lenient sometimes when we acted up, my mom. But when my father found out that we acted up, my father beat us. My mother didn't do the beating. My father did. So, right now, what's going on? The Democrats and this House of Representatives, that's the father beating Donald Trump. And when they get through beating him, which they just did, they're going to send him to Mama, the Senate, and Mama going to put him in their arms. Mama going to say, all right, Trump, that's okay, baby. I know. That bad Schiff. Schiff, shame on you, Schiff. And that Pelosi, shame. That's all right, baby. That's the Senate's going to take care of you. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Go to sleep. Da-da-da. That's all right, baby. That's okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, we need some burgers. Get some pizza and some McDonald's and Burger King. Bring in the head right. Hurry up. He's losing his color. He was orange. Now he's... What is that on his face? Well, what are you spraying on your face, baby? Good Lord. Where your hair going? I thought all this time... We need a needle and thread, please. Go to sleep. It's going to be bigly. It's going to be bigly. No Twitter today. Stay off Twitter. No. Stay away from Twitter. Go to sleep. No. There's no more 1-900 numbers. No, you can't. You cannot call the porn star tonight. No. No Tic Tacs tonight. No. Go to sleep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's your boy. That is your boy. So, Deandra said, good night, sir. Yeah, I gotta go. Tamara said, I'm unable. All right, y'all. I've been on here too long. I wanted to go short, but ain't nothing short about me. I don't understand that. Okay. Tam, now I was gonna say that in my little bit. That's why I mentioned Tic Tacs, but I couldn't go no further because sometimes my family be watching this show. She said, no grabbing women by the... Yeah, sometimes my family watch. My mom used to watch this. My mom used to watch the show. One time I was doing a show on sex, how to have great sex. What made me do that show? I don't know. I was doing a show about great sex among husbands and wives. I talked about all kinds of sexual positions and stuff. And I'm in the middle of it, and then my mama popped up. So Evelyn Jones watching this. Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers in the tree. Yeah, so my mommy. That's my mommy. That's mommy. That's my mommy. She watches me every night. There she is. Always smiling. Every time she saw me, that's the look that was on her face. Walter. She called me Wawa. Yeah. She said, Wawa. Wawa, come here. Sit down, Wawa. Watch this TV. She loved to watch TV. Come here, Wawa. All right, I gotta go. God, we thank you for your presence. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for all you've done for us. We saw what happened. We're watching, but we're still praying. The process will take root, and it will manifest itself, and it will spread into the knowledge of men, and man will respond. Man will be educated. But the prayer, God, that goes forth, that man will repent. 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 And go back and do their first works all over again. Whomever you put in office, and whomever you keep in office, God, it is that we are leading other men to the cross of Jesus Christ, and that we not focus on politics of man and flesh. That we focus on you and go out there in the streets and the highways and byways and compel them, feed the hungry, shelter man, encourage them in the Lord. Look after the widows and the orphans so that they might be fed. That is our commission. That is all. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank God. Amen. Gotta go, y'all. Alexa, say good night to the people.
Good night. Sleep tight.
Y'all want some Ritz? I can get y'all some Ritz crackers ordered. Hey Alexa, order me some Ritz crackers.
Amazon's choice is Ritz Original Crackers, 6-pack of 10 ounces each. It's $11.28. I added it to your Amazon cart for review.
Oh, thank you,
baby. To
baby.
purchase, say buy it now.
Okay, I'm gonna see if they can give me some money. Hey, yeah, we got your 11-pack. Okay, some Ritz. Y'all want some? You want some? Tam? Okay. My CashApp is Sirwalterj. Yeah, Sirwalterj. Send me some money and I'll send you some Ritz. Now, if everybody on here send me, how much did she say? Or whatever the price is, y'all send me that price and I'll take care of you. One at a time. Okay, one. And you, $11, please. Gotta go. See you tomorrow. Hit the share button, will you please? Hit it right now. Share. Bam. There it is. I see you sharing it. I say, y'all obedient. I love you.